Why music gives us goosebumps. The extraordinary science behind why music can move us to tears Part 2. Welcome back to Army. In the first part of today's journey, we discovered that music is much more than sound. It is a remarkable interaction between mathematics, emotion, memory, and prediction. We also learned why certain melodies can send chills down our spine, and why our brains become so emotionally attached to music. But now another fascinating question appears. Can music actually change the human brain? For centuries, musicians have claimed that practicing an instrument changes the way they think. Today, neuroscience tells us they were right. Modern brain imaging has revealed that musicians often show measurable differences in several brain regions, compared with people who have never received musical training. One of the most studied structures is the corpus callosum. This thick bundle of millions of nerve fibers connects the brain's left and right hemispheres. You can think of it as a giant information highway. The left hemisphere is often more involved in language, logic, and detailed analysis. The right hemisphere contributes more to melody, emotion, creativity, and spatial awareness. When someone plays the piano, both hemispheres must work together with extraordinary precision. The eyes read musical notes. The ears monitor pitch and rhythm. The fingers perform complex movements. Memory recalls what comes next. Emotion shapes expression. All of this happens within fractions of a second. Years of practice strengthen communication between these brain regions. Scientists call this remarkable ability neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's lifelong capacity to reorganize itself. Every time you learn a new skill, new neural connections are formed. Connections that are used frequently become stronger. Connections that are rarely used may gradually weaken. In other words, the brain is not a fixed machine. It is a living network that continuously adapts to experience. Music provides one of the clearest demonstrations of this principle. Children who begin learning an instrument often develop improvements not only in musical ability, but also in attention, auditory processing, and fine motor coordination. Researchers continue investigating whether musical training also influences language development, memory, and executive function. Although results vary between studies, many scientists agree that learning music provides an excellent form of mental exercise because it requires multiple brain systems to work together at the same time. Another extraordinary discovery concerns memory. Have you ever heard an old song and suddenly remembered a moment from many years ago? Perhaps you remembered a birthday party, a family vacation, your first day of school, or someone you haven't seen in years. Sometimes a single melody can unlock memories that seemed completely forgotten. This phenomenon has fascinated neuroscientists for decades. Music appears to interact closely with the hippocampus, one of the brain's key memory centers. Unlike isolated facts, songs combine rhythm, emotion, language, and repetition. The brain tends to store emotionally meaningful experiences more strongly than ordinary daily events. This may explain why songs often become powerful memory cues. One particularly moving area of research involves patients living with. As the disease progresses, many patients gradually lose memories of people, places, and daily routines. Yet researchers have observed something remarkable. Some patients who struggle to recognize family members can still sing songs they learned decades earlier. In certain cases, hearing familiar music briefly improves communication, emotional expression, or memory recall. Scientists are still investigating exactly why this happens. Music is not a cure for Alzheimer's disease. However, these observations demonstrate how deeply musical memories become embedded within the human brain. Another fascinating area of research is music therapy. Hospitals around the world increasingly use music to support patients recovering from illness or surgery. Music therapists work with people experiencing anxiety, chronic pain, stroke recovery, developmental disorders, and neurological conditions. The goal is not simply entertainment. Instead, carefully selected musical activities may help improve movement, communication, emotional well-being, or relaxation depending on the individual's needs. For example, some stroke patients experience difficulty controlling movement after damage to specific brain regions. Researchers have found that rhythmic, auditory cues can sometimes help patients improve the timing and coordination of their walking during rehabilitation. The rhythm provides an external guide that the brain can synchronize with. Scientists continue studying how these techniques work and which patients benefit most. Music also influences one of the body's most important systems, stress. When people experience fear or anxiety, the body activates the sympathetic nervous system, heart rate increases, breathing becomes faster, muscles prepare for action. This response is extremely useful during emergencies. However, remaining in a constant state of stress is not healthy. Several studies suggest that calm, relaxing music may help reduce feelings of anxiety in certain situations. Some researchers have also observed temporary decreases in heart rate, blood pressure, or stress-related hormones while participants listen to soothing music. The effects vary between individuals, but the findings suggest that music can influence both mind and body. Interestingly, silence is also part of music. Without pauses, melodies would become chaotic. Composers understand that moments of silence create anticipation. The brain begins predicting what will happen next. When the music returns, the emotional impact often becomes even stronger. Once again, prediction lies at the heart of the musical experience. The brain is constantly guessing, listening, adjusting, learning, and feeling. Perhaps this explains why two people can hear the exact same piece of music and experience completely different emotions. The sound entering their ears is identical. The memories, expectations, and life experiences inside their brains are not. Music is never heard by the ears alone. It is interpreted by the entire human mind. Today we've discovered that music can reshape the brain through neuroplasticity, strengthen memory, support rehabilitation, and influence both emotional and physical health. But one final mystery remains. Why has every civilization throughout history created music? And what does music reveal about what it truly means to be human? In the final part, Army will explore the evolutionary origins of music, separate scientific evidence from popular myths, and reveal why one of humanity's oldest inventions may also be one of our greatest achievements. I'll see you in the final chapter of today's journey.